Now, let's now talk about limitations of fiscal policy. The first limitation that we're going to talk about today is time lag. Now, take note that time lag, we have two different types of time lag. We have the implementation time lag and then we have the transmission time lag. Today, we're going to talk about implementation time lag. What is implementation time lag? First of all, when you want to carry out fiscal policy, first understand that government policy requires time for planning and execution. So when you want to actually increase government spending or something, or you want to cut your taxes, you have to actually do some planning, decide what are the implications of the change in government expenditure or the change in taxes, and then whether it's worthwhile doing it. And the execution also takes some time. So government policy actually takes time, especially in countries where you have political gridlock, like in the US, you have the Democrats versus Republicans. Whenever any spending is to be done, this requires approval on both sides. Right, so there might be a substantial amount of time lag, okay, which might prevent your fiscal policy from working too well. In some occasions, perhaps it might take too long for fiscal policy to take place, so it might not adequately address the problem that is happening at a particular point in time. And when you try to carry out expansionary fiscal policy, one consideration is that you should see a significant effectiveness of expansionary fiscal policy if you have a large multiplier size, whereby any increase in AD will lead to a very large multiplier increase in real national income. But if your country has a small multiplier, then any increase in G or cut in taxes may lead to a not so significant increase in real national income because the multiplier value is very small. Next, if you want to try to change personal income taxes, you have to actually check whether your marginal propensity to consume is very small. If your marginal propensity to consume is small, then you cut personal income taxes, say by let's say $100 million, disposable income increases by $100 million. But you must remember that consumers save a portion of their income. So if their marginal propensity to consume is not very high, they might end up saving a relatively large proportion of the the rise in disposable income, and then in the end, your increase in AD because of increase in consumption will not be very significant. So you have to be mindful of the size of the MPC. If you want to carry expansionary fiscal policy, many countries in the world today have very high debt. If they have very high debt, that means to say that if you increase spending and your country has a significant budget deficit, that means they have to finance the increase in spending through borrowing. But if the country has already borrowed significantly and already has very high debt, any increase in government spending will lead to worsening of the budget position. And worsening of the budget position means to say you have to borrow even more. And at some point at a later time, you have to repay this debt with interest payments.